Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
And good afternoon, I think. I don't know how do you greet somebody when it's straight up 12 o'clock lunchtime? It's not good morning. It's not good afternoon. Is it good noon? It's only good for like that tiny sliver of a second when the needle is straight up and down on the clock. Anyway, yes, it is a new time for us to broadcast. This is not regular time, but you know what? The world has a lot of people making comics in it, and not all of them live on Eastern Standard Time. So we adjust to make sure that we can get as many voices on the show as possible. So today, the question on our minds is, who is John Paris? And the man with the answer to that question is MarV with the Sin Killer. Mar, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, RJ.
Glad to do it. So this is an interesting looking book. And the first thing that I see when I look at some of the graphics here is just the stark black white with the drop of red in it, or sometimes blue, but it's a dark book. I like that style.
Yes.
Was that what you were driving for when you were thinking this heavy ink?
Well, at the beginning, I was thinking about doing only in black and white, but then I always loved the Silver Age comics, and when I was on the Monday night, I think, with Peter Smeri, he told me that the book will be awesome if it was in black and white or in the flat colors. So I thought about it, and as I'm a big fan of horror comics from DC Comics, I had always that thing back in my head, and I thought about it, and I wanted to do something like EC used to do, but then I, thanks to a happy mistake, I was doing the coloring, and then I just made the mistake of color the page all black. So that was the mood that I wanted to do after seeing what happened in that page, because the blues pop up, the blues and the grays and the whites, and that happy mistake, like Bob Ross used to say, made me do it darker even.
Now, are you doing this digitally, or is this the more traditional pen and ink on Bristol board?
I began with traditional, but then I was able to get an iPad Pro, and I started to finishing every page that I had in digital. But the first pages, most of the first pages are most of the beginning of the book are in traditional, starting traditional, and the end too. but then when you go like the middle of the book, when John is telling a story what happened in Vietnam, half of the Vietnam War scenes were made 100% digital.
Okay. So what is the story here? I mean, you do a good job of the elevator pitch in the video that we just played there. It looks like this guy, he was killed in Vietnam, but then he was like resurrected by somebody with a mission and a purpose.
Almost that. John was supposed to be dead. He was going to be executed, but his fear of dying, unleashed his power, and he resurrected his fellow comrades. But something happened. Yeah, he was supposed to be dead. He was supposed to be executed because they fell into an ambush in Vietnam, and he was the only survivor. And when he was about to be executed, he unleashed his power, and he brought his brothers in arms back to life. But the pain that they felt of not going back home, and to be able of never seeing their families, instead are coming back, and save him like normal people. They just became those demons that you see on the trailer, and that you can see in a little bit down below in the campaign.
So when he brings somebody back, he doesn't bring them back permanently and not in a recognizable human form. They come back sort of malformed spiritually.
Yeah, physically and spiritually. Yeah, they are both things. When they came back, and they turned into something. They came back as humans, but then the pain that they felt of not going back home just made them become those lizard-like creatures.
Now, this is the scene in Vietnam here, and you did this digitally. I love the we talked about the color scheme was like all black, and here you throw things into more of a sepia tone, which always indicates flashback to me. I think Neil Gaiman said the past should always be viewed in sepia tones, and I think it works so well. Was that also a conscious decision on your coloring scheme here?
Yes, that was made on ink wash. Those 2 pages were made on ink wash traditionally. But then I did some, I brought back the blacks, and I did some textures digitally, but the rest, let's say 80% of what you see now on those 2 pages are traditional. But I always got in my mind that I had to do something that the reader will understand that was a memory. So between black and white and those tones that I put, it got to be something different than the first page, for instance.
Yeah. I hate it when I'm reading a comic book and it takes me 5 or 10 seconds to realize, oh, between these panels I just flashed back, because there was no visual cue or indicator that I've jumped from present to past, and it can get confusing. But when you have a visual fog or a color scheme change like that, it's much more apparent that, oh, flashback. Thank you for telling me that that's what we're doing now. I can process this. And this is one of the lizard creatures.
Yes, but the reds I try to just in a little sentence that John says in the story. You have 2 styles of drawings. You have the present, that the dark blues and the blacks that you see in the first page. Then you have the past with the sepias that you see on top. And the third style is what John sees, because when he brings back the dead, he stays blind. His eyes become red, and everything that you see in red is what he sees. He is not able to see around him. He just see what is happened through the laser, the sinners, as I call them, the sinner's eyes. And then you have that mood of darkness and red that symbolizes what he sees, and the blood that is shared across the across the landscape, you know. And then it fades away at this last panel. He fades away because he's close with one of his friends, and he touches him, and everything disappears around him. So it's just between the two of them there. I tried to take some something more intimate between the two, you know, because they are closest friends. You know, soldiers are like brothers. That's one of the things that I really enjoy of doing this part, because it was the best and the worst part for me to do, because I didn't know how the creatures were looked, and I didn't know how I was supposed to make this part when John stays blind, you know.
Now, this is your first crowdfunder, I'm guessing, unless you've been to Kickstarter and done this before.
Yes, it's first, yes.
Is this your first comic book work?
Yes, my first comic book. I have two published books. I published 2 books, but they weren't mine. They only had my heart in it. One was a recipe book that was made in black and white and years ago. And another one was a poem that I illustrated. I had an invitation from a well-known poet here in the city that I live, along with other artists, fine art artists, and another type of artists, illustrators also. And I had the chance to illustrate a poem done by him, and I took the opportunity to make a tribute to my father in that book. It was I really enjoyed that one.
No, so what was it that well, why did you choose to make a comic book then in the first place? What is it about comics that you wanted to get involved with that business? Because it's a crazy business.
Yeah, it wasn't about the business. Of course, I would love to work in comics, especially continuing the Sin Killer. I have 2 more stories to tell. I have the story of Michael, that's the dog that he lives with, and Gabriel, that's the raven that lives with them. And I'm working right now in the second book, and I have another story, only the origin of John, where he came from and where he was raised. But everything began as a kid. I believe my father was, I say I believe because I don't recall much those times, because I was very little. But I still have some of my father's books. They are European books, especially from France, you know, everything from Belgium, Italy. I have a bunch of books here in my desk to get inspiration, and I believe my father was a collector and a comic book enthusiast, because he had a bunch of them. And one of my first, I always talk about these 2 books. It was an Amazing Spider-Man story with Spider-Man, the Punisher, and Nightcrawler. And another one was Daredevil versus Torpedo. Those books were the first things first books that I remember of having a comic book in my hands. I didn't know who they were back in the day, but I still remember the enthusiasm that I had back in the day when Spider-Man was fighting Jigsaw. You know, the goons that Jigsaw had, and the dynamic poses of Daredevil fighting Torpedo, you know, in that other book. And that was something that really enthusiasmed me when I was a kid. And then later on, we moved a lot. We lost a bunch of books. I just kept just a few. My parents divorced. I was moving from house to house, and finally I found I was living with this older couple that had a small office in their home, surrounded by books, and I used to be there every single day. I didn't go out to meet anybody or other kids or whatever. I stuck there for hours and hours and days, and they finally said to me that they were going to shut down to close the door for me, because I wasn't really having any time with other kids on the street, you know.
Who needed that? You had all these books.
Yeah, I was surrounded by books. I didn't know about dinosaurs. I just saw those incredible drawings, and I was amazed about not only the dinosaurs, the Romans, the Greeks, the Mayans, all those crazy civilizations. I knew there about the first book that I read was in that house about the Holocaust, Auschwitz. That opened my eyes to a lot of things, to movies. There was encyclopedias of movies. Well, everything that you can imagine. National Geographic books. What it was a library,
Yeah.
small office, but you got everything, and I loved being that. Those couple of years that I was there, those were maybe the best days of my childhood was inside that office. And later on, when my parents divorced and my mother came living in the village that I'm now, I had a neighbor that we used to hang out every day, and he told me once we were talking about I don't know what, and he just asked, "What are you doing? What kind of comics do you read?" And I said, "I read Disney. I had a bunch of Disney at home." And he said, "Disney are for kids, man. Take this." And yeah, around 50 or 60 books, 60 comics, Marvel and DC. I remember the first one was with the Captain America. I didn't know Captain America, but Captain America was Captain America and has a Falcon, Nomad. I didn't know those superheroes, but I really enjoyed very much Falcon instead of Captain. Captain America was cool, but Falcon for me was incredible. You could fly and he could communicate with a Red Wing, and that was one of my first superheroes that I really enjoyed, and. He made me really to have that passion for comics. I had comics, but I didn't know what superhero comics was. I had those books from my father, but I was too little just to recognize what Marvel and DC were. So that made me really have that passion for comics, and I started to trace everything that I could.
Sure.
There was that black paper that I used to use when I was a kid, and that black paper was behind the sheet the sheet that I was tracing. Sorry, and that black stuff will go to the paper that I was drawing, and I started
carbon
to
paper.
trace. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, maybe that's it. Carbon paper. Yeah, and then I started to mimic the everything that I could, and since that day, that time, I started to buy comics in a grocery store that we used to have, and everything. You had my books also from school, and in the middle, always 2 or 3 comics to read when I was between classes. And that was the beginning of that. But for this particular, but to really understand how I decided to do the Sin Killer was when I was watching Jeff Lafferty drawing his comic The Berserker Knot, and find out about indie comics was thanks to him that I watching his videos, and I was drawing and tried to be better. And it was about 6-7 years ago that I knew that I knew about comics, independent comics. But 2 years ago, I decided really to do it because I really wanted to make comics, but I didn't know what to do. I had created some rip-offs, and this one was a rip-off at the beginning. I was having, as I call it, Liefeld syndrome. And I was. The character was cool. Yeah, it was cool. But then I stopped at page 5, I think, and I sit and ask myself what I really love about comics and why do I love comics. And then I said, this is a ripoff. I have to do everything again. And then I was listening to Dave Matthews Band, The Gravedigger, and the story just started to appear like that. And Pantera Cemetery Gate made me also decide where Jones lives, And yeah, the stuff, and listening to heavy metal and some rock from back in the 80s and early 90s made me create that. And being at work, always thinking, thinking about
Oh
the book,
yeah.
thinking of, and yeah, and yeah, I decided to do it traditionally, and yeah, that was
I was going to
crazy.
ask what inspired the story, but obviously, listening to heavy metal has led you to do
Yeah.
comic. And there's a big intersection between heavy metal and comic books. Um,
Hmm.
I think the most obvious thing to me is that Iron Maiden cover where it's got there's a Batman hidden up on top of the building and there's a TARDIS in the background. Like this is comic books world stuff all over this heavy metal album. Uh,
Yeah, Iron Maiden is one of my favorite bands, and yeah, just the way they tell stories in each song. It's a story. They just and my dog is calling me. Wait,
he may
yeah,
not be able
Flash.
to wait too long.
Yeah, Flash gotta. I think you gotta go, but you can wait. But yeah, the way Iron Maiden. The way Dickinson tells the story is always motivated. He always moving around and changing his voice, like he was really telling stories to frightening stories to kids. It's yeah, that was one of my inspirations. Iron Maiden for sure. And other bands too, like Megadeth from the old days. And yeah, uh, metal really have a big influence in the story. Yes.
So you got three different tiers on here, which is nice. You've kept this one really simple. So many people
Yes.
launch a campaign, and it's like and on tier number 18, you get everything you saw before, plus you get a button. It's like no, this is easy. It's the book. The featured tier is the book, and that's what folks. If you're doing a first time crowdfunder, that's your featured tier, the book. Just
Mhm.
do the book. 32 pages.
Yes.
Which is a decent price. $14 US, 12 euros. Um, very reasonably priced for that size for a crowd-funded book. If you compare it to others, you're going to see $20 to $25 for the same books. Um,
I
is
want to
this,
keep it simple. Yes.
yeah? And now is this a singular story or is this the first chapter of an ongoing story arc?
The way I wrote it, each book will have a self-contained story, but I wanted just to tell the whole story of the three characters. So here you just have a sneak peek of who they are and where John came from. You'll find Michael there doing his using his power, just making other dogs coming out of him, in the mist, and you'll see Gabriel the Raven just punishing the bad guy that they just caught before. You have just a sneak peek of Michael and Gabriel, and a little more story of John. But I want to go deep down to the three characters, because this was supposed to be a graphic novel. Everything that you see in this book was supposed to be in a graphic novel. But I I had a tablet before, but it just when I started the comic and I was supposed to start inking the first couple of pages, it just died. So
Oh,
what I was thinking 2 years ago of making that graphic novel just came down. Just was awful because I didn't had the income to buy another one, and life happens a lot, and I wasn't able to do it.
yeah,
But
lost all that
yeah,
data.
yeah.
Now,
No, I didn't. I had nothing inside. I was supposed to start inking the traditional stuff that I had, because
oh,
usually I draw something, I take a photo, and then I'll trace for the inks, and then I'll do the coloring and whatnot. But back then I was trying to see how I was supposed to be. And it died just like that. I was the image, the intro of the tablet began and then just turned black, and that was it. It wasn't able. nothing else happened, and the technician said that, man, if you want to spend money on this, you got to buy a new one, because it's not worth it to pay almost the price of the tablet just to have it back again. So
Yep. Been there before with computers. Now you've thrown out these names of these characters that are your main three characters. You got Gabriel and you got Michael. Obviously these are archangel names. Are we talking about that Gabriel and that Michael?
No, John Paris is the name of my father. One of the names, John. My father was John in Portuguese, and one of the family names was Paris. So I combined the two, and I gave the character the name of my father. But Gabriel and Michael, the character is a priest, so it made sense to me to. Not that John represents God, he's have a huge power to bring back the people from death, but that wasn't the idea of making John kind of a god. It's just a tormented man who was in the Vietnam War and lost his faith, But he was a priest, and he just gave. Thor was the name of Michael before when he was alive. When Michael was alive, and his name was Thor, and then he gave him the name because he began a new life. So he gave him Michael, and the same happened to Gabriel. He was a normal crow who died, and John brought him back to life. They gave him Gabriel. If he had another animal, he might have. I don't know. But
so Gabriel and Michael,
it will always be angels. Yes. If you're going to have
Gabriel
another
and Michael, he brought back permanently.
Yes. And
because I didn't know if his power was temporary, and he's like, okay, you've done your job, now go back to your rest, or once he brings you back, you're back. You're permanently back.
With his friends, he did that. Because they became those monsters, those demons that wanted revenge for not coming back home, and he did that. But with Michael and Gabriel, they are not. They are the mindset of animals are very different from us. So we have anger, we have revenge, and all that stuff, But animals are different from humans. That's why they maintained their appearance as animals, but they transform also in something. But they will continue to keep their original form, but they change a little bit.
Okay. You've got the PDF version here. I didn't get to that yet, and I just double-clicked it. So let's go ahead and take a look at RJ's credit card information. No, let's back that up.
Thanks.
Yeah, I do that all the time because I keep thinking that, I click it once to expand it. I click it again to shrink it back up. That's not how Indiegogo works. Okay, so the PDF file is there. And then this last tier, the retailer tier. Okay. So again, it's really just the book. Are you looking at doing any kind of stretch goals?
No,
I just discouraged it all, and now I'm asking if you're going to throw in cards and books.
No, I'm not gonna put anything else. I have the book. I want to give to the physical backers stickers that I'm working on now. But at the end of the campaign, everything new that I do on my tablet, every single panel, there is an individual in the illustration. I will send it to all backers at the end of the campaign.
Very nice, very nice. So does John have after he's left Vietnam, does he have a mission that he feels he has to accomplish? I mean, what's driving him? He's got this power. What does he choose to do with it?
Well, basically, he just wants to make justice to those who haven't none. If somebody was died, and if the police were unable to find the killer, let's say, he has the capacity, but you only see that in another story. He have the capacity of talk to the dead, you know.
Sure.
And then Michael and Gabriel, their job is to seek and bring back the bad guys. Gabriel is Gabriel is more like a rebel animal. Michael obeys 100% John because he's very faithful. Gabriel too is a faithful. They live as a family, you know. But if Michael wants to torture somebody because they really, really, really deserve it, it doesn't matter if John don't want them to leave him alone. You just go there and torture the guy, you know. But that's their job. John knows what happened, and then he tells Michael and Gabriel to bring him the guilty people, and then they will torture them and make them pay for what they did. So
now, you said that they're rebellious and they go on these jobs. They're animals, and they're resurrected animals. Do they have within your story speech capability with John? I mean, do we know what they're thinking, or so?
No. In this story, it's just focused on John specifically. You will see them interact, the three of them, but John, yes, he have a couple of balloons talking to Michael, for instance, but he doesn't need that, because when in the second book you will see that John doesn't need to speak to them, especially when they are out, because when they are hunting, John sees through their eyes. Right. And they communicate with each other. But yes.
Okay, so but I mean, for the reader, is there any sort of way of getting into Michael and Gabriel's head to know what they're thinking, or do we judge it all by their actions, the visually represented actions?
Yes. Basically that, yes.
Okay, that's pretty cool, though. I mean, and that's a challenge too, to communicate to the reader what a character is thinking and planning without using word balloons or thought bubbles. You're just going to understand by actions and expression. That's going to be you master that. You've mastered comics.
Thanks. I gotta say that he'd say to John that when the guy is running, Michael appears, and John is way back. He's way behind Michael, and he said, "Not this time. Let your brother handle this," or something like that. But he's not near Michael. He's just far away.
Okay.
But Gabriel knows what he's got to do, because nobody tells him nothing. So Gabriel just attacks at the end of the book.
So you're at 53% of goal here, with 27 days left. So you've been up for 3 days. You've launched 3 days ago?
No, I launched on the 11th. It wasn't yesterday. It was the Sunday from the other a week ago.
Okay, but recently then. So it was must have been a 45-day campaign, I guess.
No, I put 34. I wanted 30, but I put 34 because I want this to end. Sorry.
Oh, you wanted to end on a specific day.
Yeah, but I wasn't able to do that because you're gonna end in the 14th, I think. I wanted to end it in the 13th, Friday 13. But but it's gonna be, I think, in the Saturday 14th.
Well, still, I mean, it's been a reasonably short campaign so far, and you're over halfway there. It's a flexible goal, which tells me you're planning on doing this book whether you make it all the way to 700 or 600 euros or not.
That's the idea, because I want to print it and I want to have it in my hands, and I want everybody to have it also.
Yeah, I mean, and it's your first book, so when you get that back from the printer, that's going to be your baby.
Yeah.
The hardest part's going to be selling it, because you got to let them go then.
I will be happy just to print it and ship it, and even if I don't make any money, because I put everything so simple that I'm not thinking about it. I just want to print it, give it to the readers. and then work on the second one, and then I will try to make something better, like a T-shirt or whatever.
Yeah, it's
Because yeah,
all that stuff comes later. All again,
yeah,
let people know your characters, learn to love your
yes,
characters, and then they'll want to wear them and represent them in other
yeah.
ways and fashions. You've got a September 2021 date on this for fulfillment. Is any concerns about meeting that? I mean, how many pages? How far along are you done in the process of actually creating the book?
It's done. I
Oh,
wanted
never
to,
mind.
yeah, it's done. I wanted to finish the book. I just have to make an illustration about the support, the backers, and everybody who helped me do while I was on streaming or buying the book, or just helping me with the crowdfund of the tablet that I had a few months ago. Everybody will have their names there, and it will be a giant tombstone, with John, Michael, and Gabriel on it.
Nice.
It will be my thank you notes to everybody. And I really would love to have a page with ads, with Indie Vault, you also, and all the people that supported me. I really will love to have a page or two with ads, just to say also a thank you to everybody who supported me.
Like I say,
That's what
be
I.
careful how you put that together, because
Yeah, I
if you
want to think. Yeah,
yeah, if you want to say, thank you to these particular outlets for, featuring our product, that's one thing. But when you talk about putting ads in something, that in the U.S. you lose your mailing, your media mail status if you have ads in your product,
it's not
because
an
then it
ad.
has.
It's like yeah, it's
Yeah,
not an ad.
it's more. I get you there, and you're allowed to absolutely do that. And this is just one of those shipping rules that I keep in the back of my head all the time to remember, what we can and can't do. And you can definitely advertise, your upcoming books or where to find your books, places where, that have featured your book. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. I just, alarm bells go off when somebody says that. I'm like, wait.
Okay, so I can
So
get in trouble just to publicize other artists
uh,
for free.
for free, yeah, it depends. Just don't make it look like, send $1.95 to this address sort of thing.
Ah, okay,
Um,
okay, okay. I just
be,
can put their logos or whatever.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
otherwise the post office, they can open up something that's marked media mail to inspect it,
Ah,
and if
okay.
they see that there's an ad, they're going to kick it all back and say, no, you got to send this out at a higher cost,
Ah,
because now
okay.
it becomes priority or first class mail.
Ah, okay. So it's fair enough.
Normally that doesn't happen, but I have heard of it, on rare occasion happening to people sending their comics out, because the post office doesn't understand their own regulations.
Ah,
Because of the advertising thing, they've got a regulation that says comic books do not qualify for immediate mailing. And everybody kind of focuses in on that. But I'm like, yeah, but that's in the paragraph that's talking about items with advertising material in it are not allowed. And comic books at the time in 1970, whatever, that they wrote the regulation,
mhm.
where, it was x-ray specs and, hypnotize your girlfriend with the television kind of things, with all the ads in the pages. You've seen the 70s DC comics. It was an ad
Yes,
every
yes.
third page.
I have a
That's what
couple.
paid for
Yeah.
the books.
Ah, okay. So yeah, I gotta think. I gotta think that yeah. Maybe I'll put only the names of who helped
Yeah,
me.
that tribute page is fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely fine.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. So, is there anything more about the Sin Killer that we should know about before we sort of wrap things
Yeah.
up here?
Yeah. It will be printed in the US. Every backer that supports from the United States, it will be in the US, and those backers from Europe, it will be printed in Europe.
It's a good way of getting
So
around the high costs of shipping.
yes, yes, yes. That was a tip from our common friend.
Oh,
The
Mike
that
Jimmy.
yeah. I didn't know if I could say his name, but yeah. Mike Jimmy said that, and is right on that, because it doesn't make sense to pay so much for mailing for shipping. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Because,
And I brought ahead.
yeah.
I went ahead and clicked through it because it's not going to show my credit card. But just so people can see what the shipping in the U.S. will be. It's €7 shipping in the U.S., which is roughly $8. So yeah, for $14 for the book, $8 for the shipping, you're looking at estimated $22 for this whole thing. No reason why you wouldn't want to back a book that's $22 plus the shipping included in it. Yeah, this is a deal for 32 pages. So this is a definite recommend. Pops Van Zant in the chat. Yeah, I surprised you coming on at noon, didn't I, Pops? It's like we've been streaming all day for the past 3 days now. It's like I'm not taking any breaks. And Pops, I'm glad to see you have power back on in your house. You left me high and dry over on the global frequency last night when you were supposed to be the closing act. That was a lot of fun over on their channel. So I'm guessing you're making the rounds now. On the different shows and getting slotted in to talk about this, keeping busy.
Yeah. I've been very busy. I was in vacation for 2 weeks. Today I stayed home because I got the shot, and my arm still hurts a little bit. But I'll start working tomorrow. But these last 2 weeks, the first week was to finish the book. And then I launched on Sunday Funnies on Indie Vault.
Nice. Yes, I was there.
Yeah, two Sundays ago. Yeah, and I've met wonderful people, and I'm still available, but I have to think about how I'm going to do the streams, because the good thing about being in Europe is that I'm 5 hours ahead or 6 hours ahead of you guys, and when it's 12 in the United States, or 11 or 1 o'clock, it's here 5 p.m. So at 5 p.m. I am already at home. Yeah. I got out of work at 3:30 p.m. and then at 5 I am already available, and so I use my time to promote and to work on the second book right now, and to finish a couple of panels that I have to improve, because there are some stuff that I didn't like, and I want to not to change a lot, but just a little bit to make it better.
All right. So where are we going to find you next? Which shows will you be on coming up this week?
Well, I was supposed to be with JD, but I mixed up the time, But tonight I'm going to be with Pops. I'm going to be with Pops tonight at
Good show.
I'm going to be with Pops. I know it's 9 p.m. My time. I think it's 4 p.m. EST. So JD has to reschedule from today to Saturday. Next Saturday I'll be with JD, and later in the 26th I'll be with Area Black. But I focused my time on this last week that I did something like 8 or 10 live streams.
You've got you're your own promoter, man. So you've got to be hitting them up right up until the last day. So your next 27 days are going to be very, very busy. Yeah. Peter Retro Palmiotti in the chat. Welcome,
hey,
sir.
Peter.
Glad you popped in.
Yeah.
Just wrapping up here with Mario and talking about the Sin Killer Revelation. I've been saying the Sin Killer. I haven't been putting the subtitle on it because I guess I didn't see it until right there.
No problem. The second one will called The Two Witnesses.
Oh, now it's going to keep a very, very religious kind of theme going along with it here.
I'm not I was raised as a Catholic, but I'm not a believer. But I studied several religions. I loved since I was a kid religion, because I found out about a lot of stuff in that office that I was. So I thought that we were Christians were only. Christianity was only the only religion in the world. In that office, I knew about a lot of religions, and and that kept me interested in the matter. And when I did this, I wanted to make as connected to the Bible as I could. I'm not saying anything bad about religion or whatever. It's just I'm telling just a story, but I'm
It's
not
got a
putting
lot
any.
of inspiring iconography to it.
Yeah, and I used to paint saints years ago, and to draw saints. I gave even some illustrations to charity, and it's a theme that I really enjoy is religion.
Yeah. Oh, one of the scariest horror movies I read as a kid was The Revelation of St. John. So it was, I'd stay up late reading that. Like, ooh, what? This giant monster? All right. Well, Mario, I think we've covered the whole thing here. So
Mhm.
I just want to take a moment to remind folks, if you're watching this on the replay, the link to The Sin Killer on Indiegogo is right down there below the chat. It's the very first line in the description. I encourage people to check that out. It's very, very easy to follow campaign, folks. It's the book or the book in PDF, or if you run a store, give me multiple copies of the book. That I can put them on my shelf. So that's it. 1, 2, 3. Pick the one that's best for you, and help get this thing put over a goal. It's $377 US right now. I'll give it one quick refresh just to see, on the off chance that we've got some afternoon viewers watching live. 382. 380. It went up.
How many? Wow! Thank you.
That means we've had a shake and bake moment, Mario. That's we have these special things on the show where we do this.
It's shake and bake, and I help.
So somebody in the chat helped get this thing closer to goal. So it's our shake and bake.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna
commercial in the US.
Thanks. I always, when I have a backer, doesn't matter if it's a physical or digital, I go and always thanks. I send always to everybody a message saying thank you for supporting the book.
Every little bit helps too. I mean, it's 1% more toward you. 54% now. What is that? Euros? Yeah, 324 euros towards 600. So excellent.
Thank you so much,
Mario. Thank you for bringing the Sin Killer onto the show for us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Learn a little more about it. Folks in the chat, thank you for being here. We never have a show without you. Recommending, I never ask you to like the video. If you like it, you'll do that anyway. If you don't, you won't. And if you don't like it, you'll thumb it down. Somebody does it every time. I'm okay with that. But I do ask that you share the video, not for our numbers, but so that you can get Mario's work in front of the eyeballs in your social circles, so that more people can find out about his book and decide for themselves whether it's something that they want to add to their comic collection. And as always, we just hope you had a blast. Good afternoon, everyone.